Did you know your emotional energy directly impacts your child's ability to regulate their own emotions? Let's break it down. Maybe you have seen those mugs or those supposed to be encouraging posters that say, keep calm and carry on. And sometimes you may look at them ironically and just think, how in the world am I supposed to stay calm? The world is burning to the ground. Sometimes it can feel like there are so many things completely out of your control. How in the world are you supposed to stay calm? I want to tell you why it's important to stay calm, give you some tips on how you can stay calm, and tell you what it will mean for your child or the children in your life if you can stay calm even when things get a little chaotic. If you've watched my channel for any period of time, you know there are a few things that I love to talk about. One of the things that I love to talk about are these things called mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are neurons that are in the brain, and they're located between what's called the frontal lobe and the parietal lobe. They're mainly put in this part called the motor cortex. And these mirror neurons do all sorts of incredible things. They help us to read the emotions of other people. They help us to read the room, I guess is a really casual way to put it. But they were discovered by some scientists who were doing experiments on monkeys, and they put these monkeys in a functional MRI, and they had the monkeys eat bananas while they were in the functional MRI, and they watched the monkey's brains and all the different parts that reacted as the monkey was eating a banana. Then they had the monkeys watch other monkeys eat bananas, and they put them in the functional MRI while they watched, and they saw the same parts of the brain fired for the monkeys while they were watching another monkey eat the banana, as if they themselves were the ones eating the bananas. Then they found out that the same thing happens with people. When we watch someone who is feeling sad, a lot of times we start to feel a little sad ourselves, especially if we're very close with that person. If we see someone who is very scared, we can become scared ourselves because of this mirror neuron interaction. It's almost as if our brains are communicating with each other. Well, for children, especially young children, the mirror neuron connection to their caregivers is very strong. It's actually how kids learn what different emotions are and how to handle those emotions. It's by watching their caregivers and seeing your face and seeing your body language and seeing the different things that you are doing and understanding this must be what that emotion is. This is how to handle it. When we're talking about staying calm, if you are constantly stressed out or constantly reacting in huge ways or constantly reacting in anger, your kids feel it. If you're calm, they'll feel it. If you're stressed, they'll feel that too because of this mirror neuron connection. There are some strategies for staying calm when things seem out of control. And sometimes it can seem just like, you know what, I want to lose my cool right now. I want to blow up. In those situations, just understand that your child or the children in your life are watching you. And the way that you react to things, the way that you handle things is going to be encoded to them as how they are learning to handle those things and react to those things themselves. So when you're feeling those big feelings, when you're feeling like, you know what, I am going to lose my cool this time, I deserve to lose my cool this time, just remember your child is watching you. If you need to stay calm, let me tell you a few things that can be helpful. The first is one that I'm sure you have heard before, and it may even frustrate you that I'm going to bring it up. It is deep breathing, or more in today's world, we've started to call it controlled breathing. What that means is actually controlling your breath. When you start to become excited or frustrated or feeling big emotions, many times your breathing will start to quicken. It will start to be very fast-paced, very shallow breathing. And what that does is it turns into what's called a feedback loop in your brain, where your breathing is sending a signal to your brain that you are panicked or that you are feeling a big feeling or that you are feeling out of control. Then your brain sends back a signal to your lungs that says you're panicked, you're having the shallow breathing, you're feeling out of control. Keep breathing that way. And then you keep breathing that way, and the signal goes back to your brain, and then the brain sends a signal back to your lungs, and that feedback loop kind of perpetuates itself. When you can slow down your breathing, when you can have controlled breathing, when you can have deep breathing, it stops that feedback loop. When you're breathing like this, your brain is receiving that signal and then sending the signal back to your lungs. But what happens when you take a deep breath is that you may have started with some quick, shallow breathing, and it's sending a signal to your brain, and then the brain sends a signal back to your lungs, and you step in and you go, oh, seems like I should feel out of control right now. And I am feeling a big feeling, but I'm going to stay in control. I'm going to stop that feedback loop. And then, because your lungs have slowed down, the message that goes back to your brain is, I must be feeling calm or I wouldn't be able to breathe this way. And the brain sends a message to the lungs and to the rest of the body saying, calm down, everything is fine. Deep breathing may seem silly, it may seem like something that is just so talked about and so overdone and just so simple. How in the world could it work? But it really does. If you start to feel yourself lose control, pausing and taking a deep breath and a few deep breaths and really filling up your belly and slowing down the breath and getting it really deep can change the situation. Another thing that you can do to stay calm so that your child can stay calm and so that your child learns how to stay calm is to pause before you react. This is one that I see constantly. When I am doing observations in homes or schools, what I see often is that a child will say something and a parent thinks that they need to fire back immediately about something that the child said or that the child did, and they fire back, and so then the child sees, oh, it's time to fire back, and then they fire back, and then they fire back, and it turns into this tit for tat kind of back and forth where things escalate more and more and more, where if you would just pause before you react, and really that pause helps you respond rather than react, you can stay more calm, and in staying more calm through your reaction or through your response, your child will also be able to keep themselves more calm. Pause before you respond. We've all had those situations where we leave the situation and we're driving home or whatever, and we're like, oh, I should have said, whether it be something funny or whether it be a comeback or whether it be something even mean or cruel. We have these thoughts of just, oh, that's what I should have said. Why didn't I say that? And it's because you didn't pause. Had you paused, you could have come up with a better response rather than just reacting. If you react, expect your child to react. But if you pause and respond, expect a more thoughtful response from your child. Another thing to do to keep yourself calm, and this is another one of those things that I'm sure as I say it, people are going to roll their eyes and say, oh, it's another one of those talks, is taking care of yourself. Self-care is essential for keeping your cool. The more stressed you are, the shorter your fuse will be. But in today's world, people talk about self-care all the time, and it always turns into spending a ton of money or going on an expensive vacation. It doesn't have to be that. It can be small, meaningful things like a bubble bath or organizing your desk that show that you are taking time for you, that you are taking care of yourself. And I think that one of the reasons people roll their eyes all the time is because many times it turns into this expensive, extravagant thing. And it's like, well, how in the world am I supposed to do that? I can't pull that off. So that's one thing. And then another thing is that people say, oh, I tried self-care and it just doesn't work. Well, it's a consistent habit you have to implement. For instance, right now I am on vacation from work. My clients cannot reach me. My phone is off. My voicemail is set to direct them to someone else. If they email, I'm not checking my email whatsoever. They cannot get to me because I am taking care of myself. And I do that every time I go on vacation, whether I'm staying here in Louisville or whether I'm traveling far away. If I'm on vacation or even if it's the weekend, if it is not my work hours, you cannot reach me. You cannot reach me through phone. You cannot reach me through email. You cannot reach me through anything because I need to continuously practice the habit of taking care of myself. You need to do that too. As a parent, as a caregiver, consistently take care of yourself. And here's the big thing that goes along with self-care. It's not just doing it, it's giving yourself credit for it. Acknowledge it. For example, it's not just taking the bubble bath. It's while you are sitting in the bubble bath, you can say out loud or say in your head, I'm so happy I took some time for myself to make a nice bubble bath. When you acknowledge it, it cements it in your brain and it gives you this reward response from your brain. It gives you this dopamine and it floods you with all these feel-good chemicals. That way, it's not just a routine bubble bath. It's a bubble bath taking care of yourself. Or it can be something as simple as, I'm proud of myself for straightening my desk to feel more organized. Another thing I do before I leave my office each day and then at the end of each week, I have two different routines. At the end of each day, I straighten up my desk. When I leave my home office, I straighten things up before I leave the room. And in my head and sometimes out loud, I say, I'm so proud of myself for straightening my desk so I can feel more organized. Take care of yourself and give yourself credit for those things. It could be that you buy yourself a cup of tea. It could be that you buy yourself a donut. It could be that you make yourself a bubble bath. It could be that you clean up your desk. It could be that you straighten up your room. It could be that you lock yourself in your room and you watch one episode of your TV show that you love and you give yourself credit for that and say, I am so proud of myself. I am so glad I am taking time for myself today. Do it and acknowledge it. If you stay calm, it will help your child to stay calm as well. The way you respond is the way you are teaching them to respond, and your calm creates calm in your child's environment. If this resonates with you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment with your go-to strategies for staying calm under pressure.